Atlas, and we're going to bring in our sprites and begin splitting them up in Unity. Alright, so let's get started by creating a new folder in our Assets folder. And we're going to right-click and create a Sprites folder. And we'll open that up. And then I'm going to go to the Project Files folder, and I'm going to bring in Texture Atlas 01 and 02. Let's just left-click and drag those into our Projects folder. And that's going to go ahead and import those. Now once those have finished, you'll notice that we have two textures. Okay? And there's the texture atlases that we had created in the previous lessons. And to get started with this, we need to first convert the texture type from a texture to a sprite. So we're going to go to Sprite on this one, and we'll also do Sprite on this one. Let's go ahead and hit Apply on that, and wait for that to update. Okay, so this one is also going to be a sprite, and hit Apply. Alright, so let's go back to Texture Atlas 01 with all of our elements on it. You'll notice here under our sprite mode it's set to single. Let's go ahead and set it to multiple because we have multiple sprites on this Texture Atlas. Now that we have that set, let's open up our sprite editor. And once the sprite editor comes up, we're going to start splitting the individual sprites into individual pieces. So let's go to Slice. And you'll notice that we get a warning that comes up here, and it says automating slice of compressed textures gives imperfect results. And we don't want that. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and close this down. And with these textures, we need to, first off, change their max size from the 1024. Let's go all the way up to our max of 4096. And then we also want our format to be true color. Go ahead and hit Apply on that. And then once that has applied, we'll open up the sprite editor again. Alright, so here we go. Let's go ahead and hit Slice, and you'll notice that that warning has disappeared. Now at this point, we want to start setting up what kind of slice that we want. We want an automatic slice because we have several different pieces, and they are in irregular positions. So we have one that's really large and long. We have some that are smaller, and especially the rocks, those are really tiny. So let's go ahead and hit Slice. We have a minimum size, so let's go ahead and set this to something like, let's do 32. Okay, and the minimum size, what it's going to do is it's going to check to see if there are any images or sprites on this, that the minimum size on those are going to be 32 pixels. Now I'm sure that these are going to be smaller than 32, so let's go ahead and just be safe and do 16. We're going to make the pivot center, or the pivot point on the center of all of the sprites, and then the method is going to delete any existing slices that we've already done. Now this is by default. We haven't done any slices yet, so let's just go ahead and hit Slice and see what it gives us. Now once that is finished, you'll see that we have several different boxes, and these are the bounding boxes for our sprites. And what it does is it tries to figure out exactly where each individual sprite is and creates a bounding box around each one. Now it doesn't always give us perfect results. As you can see, we have some that are really small, not really sure where that information came from, but it may just be something that's in the sprite. Okay, now we can deal with this. This is not a big issue. We just need to make sure that we clean up any unnecessary bounding boxes. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and I'll just hit delete, and I'll just start getting rid of any that are extra. So this is going to go around our midground. We can make this one go around the branch here, or the vine. We have this little tiny one here. Let's go ahead and delete it. And let's make sure that we have everything else matched up. This one goes over here. Go ahead and select it, and it'll highlight in blue. And then take the edges and drag those out to around your object. And then once you've done that, you can simply hit Trim, and it'll try to get rid of any unnecessary pixels for that image. Okay, do the same thing for the rest of these. We're going to hit Trim there. Okay, that looks good. Let's take this guy here. We'll do Trim. And I'm going to draw that down just a little bit lower. Okay, and we'll resize this one. And we'll trim that. Now we have a bunch of tiny little ones around here. Let me take this guy, let me bring it around that rock and hit Trim. we'll get rid of this one and that one, as well as these other small ones. Let's back up and make sure that we aren't missing anything. And it looks like we're okay, so we can get rid of this one as well. So we'll come across here and we'll hit trim. Same thing here, we're going to trim this guy. Okay. Now, looks like we have a couple of issues. You can see here that the bounding box for this sprite is cutting into this one. Let's go ahead and lower that down on our own. Okay. Sometimes it doesn't know exactly how you want it to trim. So you want to try to get it as close as possible. And we don't want any of those overlapping one another. These all look really good. Okay, so the rock is fine. The vine looks good. Nothing going on there. This one's good. Okay. So just kind of do a quick inspection. Let's pull this one out a little bit and then hit trim. All right, good. Let's see. This one, you can see that it's overlapping the box, but it's not taking any other information. However, it is overlapping the stump here. So let's go ahead and pull that up and then hit trim. All right, great. So we're looking pretty good. Minus one little bit right here. Let's add that right there. Don't want anything extra. All right, great. Trim that. All right, so now everything is packed in there really well. We've got all of our boxes all set up. And now what we want to do is we want to go through the process of renaming all of these individual sprites, so that way they don't show up as texture atlas _01_0. That could be really confusing. So in the next lesson, we're going to come through, we're going to